for you. So let's get down to it. It's going to be Lucas Takao up against Adam Hernandez, Golgari mid-range, and Jeskai control. Two decks that have really started to make their names known here at the top tables. They've been throughout the whole weekend really showing what they're capable of, and now they are fighting for their slot in the top 8.
Yeah, Lucas kind of losing that last match on camera. Was playing for top 8, but yeah, here you see that classic 1-2 punch, Wildgrowth Walker into Jade Light Ranger.
It's exactly how you draw it up, and with another Jade Light Ranger on top, Hernandez has got to be liking the idea of keeping that one as the turn 4 play as well. That would put that Wildgrowth Walker up to being a 5-7. It's already a 3-5 as a turn 3 play.
Yeah, and I mean, the Jade Light Ranger is vulnerable to Deafening Clarion, but the Wildgrowth Walker already not. But you can see the power of this interaction is good against control and aggro decks. An aggro deck would have to contend with a wide board, a big board so early, but also with Adam at 26. The control deck also has to be, no more, a little less nonsense, please.
Sinister Sabotage, we're going to throw another copy into the graveyard because of that Surveil, but that does mean that we get to have a nice attack in for 7. We did see Revitalize there from Takao on turn 2, which is gain 3 life and draw a card at instant speed. So a cantrip that can help just dig through the deck and also buffer that life total against some of those aggressive decks.
Right. We've kind of seen Revitalize be kind of the glue that holds everything together. But as players have had to put in more Crackling Drakes and Niv Mizzets in their deck, we've seen less Revitalizes in the Jeskai lists. It's the first one to cut. However, Lucas playing the full 4 as a way to bridge the gap with the removal spells.
And there's Crackling Drake, which is actually just going to trade, not going for the option in which it would just kind of bounce off of that Wildgrowth Walker, instead looking to trade with the Jade Light Ranger, and we're going to have a 5-mana response, and it is Doom Whisper in the second main phase for Adam Hernandez. Wildgrowth Walker as well, still around. Lucas Takao really has his work cut out for him at the moment. He's going to be heading into this turn. He's got to come up with some sort of answer. He's down to 10, and he's under pressure.
Yeah, and I think the trade here was essentially realizing that there was no way to deal with the Jade Light Ranger is something that had to be dealt with. There was not much that could be done here. So deciding not to bounce because the Jade Light Ranger had to essentially go. Lucas could also have drawn Deafening Clarion given lifelink, but with Adam having access to turn 5 play, wouldn't have been Vivian Reed, since that would have come pre-combat. But yeah, and that, I think that's why Lucas went for it. Just worried about something like a top deck Vivian Reed. But this is a ton of damage.
Yeah, we saw no turn play there for Lucas Takao. Takes a massive hit, and it is going to be down to 1. Vivian Reed gets cast. Sinister Sabotage gets played from Takao, but take a look at that top card. It's got to be something amazing, because at 1 life, there is no more room for error. There's no more room to give.
Yeah, and I mean, look, that Seal Away had to go. That was a very unfortunate card. I mean, Seal Away, exactly what he needed in this situation, but Lucas just had no removal. That was the problem.
That's not going to be enough, so that is game 1 going to Adam Hernandez, and Lucas Takao is going to start things off with a Sacred Foundry. I do see a copy of that Deafening Clarion in hand, and it's a Memorial to Folly from Hernandez. That is the land which we can rebuy a creature as the game goes on from the graveyard. Search for Escanta comes down for Takao. A card that some players don't like in that Jeskai shell, some do. It's going to continue to look at the top card of the library each upkeep, and you can choose to put it in your hand or into the graveyard.
Yeah, here Deafening Clarion just trading the Wildgrowth Walker. It's worth noting Search for Escanta. The problem with it is sometimes it can be a very mediocre middle of the game draw. It's very good when you're starting with it on the play. But yeah, if you're drawing it, like say on turn 4 or 5, you'd rather just slam it to Fairy or deal with a problem.
And what we just saw was what you described in the last match that we saw. That Jade Light Ranger, it did see Llanowar Elf, kept it on top with the first Explorer. The second Explorer chose to put it into the graveyard, but ensuring that it would be a 4-3 as Adam heads into his next turn to be able to attack with it. But Takao right now with that Search for Escanta, and I think I saw a Star of Extinction in hand that we are slowly working our way towards. Is that also a Ral?
Yeah, but this is a weird sequence.
Tell me about it.
Okay. I got it. Lucas missed a land drop, which is very strange because there's a Search for Escanta, and he put a Sacred Foundry to the graveyard, And you're seeing why people played Ionize rather than Sinister Sabotage for quite a while. He didn't have access to a second blue mana and decided, I really need a second blue mana. Sacred Foundry is not going to do it, and had to bin the 4th land, missing a land drop for control deck.
And what that did is actually open up the door. Karn came down on the following turn. That's always already continuing to do its thing, plussing up, revealing the top 2 cards. Lucas gets to put one of those into the hand, the other one in exile, but can actually get picked up by that Karn at a later date. Crackling Drake on the battlefield for Takao as a way to maybe get some blocking in, maybe apply some pressure. It's going to have power equal to the number of instants and sorceries in the graveyard or exile. Currently, not that many, but Vraska's Contempt's just going to clean it up before there's any opportunity for it to do so.
Yeah, and here I'm choosing to clear the Drake in order to deal more damage and make sure that that Karn is protected.
Another card goes to the graveyard, draws Deafening Clarion, which can answer both the Jadelight Ranger and the Llanowar Elf, but it will not answer the Karn Scion of Urza, which is currently on the field and accruing all that loyalty, currently at 7.
The thing is, the Karn is not putting that much pressure, so Lucas here had a choice. Lucas could have gone for a Deafening Clarion, as you mentioned, or go for Ral. The advantage of going for Ral is that with 5 power in play, Ral is going to survive. Ral Is It Viceroy is going to survive an attack where Teferi wouldn't, either by minusing or plus. There was no seal away to do it. So, deciding to go for Ral Is It Viceroy here, because Lucas wants to untap with a Planeswalker in play. Even at 1 loyalty, it's worth so much.
Yeah, being able to get an additional card each turn, similar to what Hernandez has been doing. Each of these turns, you know, it may not be the card that you wanted, or it's the one that Takao is willing to give you, but it's still 2 draws per turn, and that decision needs to be made without the full context of what's in your hand. So the attack in here with Jadelight Ranger and the Llanowar Elf continuing to apply that pressure and might not even be looking at Ral, instead going fully to the face of Takao, down to 7. And Hernandez currently up to 22 because of that Vraska's Contempt.
And it makes sense with the Carnage Tyrant going to be a way to get there. What Lucas really wants to combine, actually, Lucas has it.
Oh, yes.
Lucas has Deafening Clarion and can then play Expansion Explosion on the Deafening Clarion to copy it and essentially clear the board here of any creatures and maybe get ahead in this game.
I've been waiting all weekend to see this combination of spells. I think we had the opportunity to even talk a little bit on Friday. I mentioned how much I loved that combination. There's 5 mana. It's Deafening Clarion, and we are going to cast Expansion on it. Copy that spell, 6 damage to all creatures, and that is going to wipe away not only the Jadelight Ranger and the Llanowar Elves, but the Carnage Tyrant with them.
Yeah, and here we have a very unique situation. That Ral Is It Viceroy is only 2 turns from ultimating, and that ultimate, I don't know if Adam can really beat it. So Adam's going to have to develop the best board that's in this situation and hope that one of those creatures at least can connect with the Ral or force the Ral to go into minus. Can't really focus on card advantage, has to focus on board development. We might even see Karn go -2 here, because even a lowly 1/1 is going to be enough to just prevent the ultimate for a turn and let Adam develop.
And I think we actually already saw that Karn go for the -1 to put a card into hand. Looks like Vivian Reed up top here. This is the double Explorer. We're going to gain 6 life out of this interaction, and that is going to become a 3/5. That does make it pretty resilient to any of the removal that Takao might have to prevent this Ral from falling.
Yeah. But, again, here, with that life gain, just only 1 counter. You know, could have used the trick, but wanted to dig as deep as... The difference here, while the Jadelight Ranger being a 4/3 would be nicer stat-wise, Adam was very interested in digging as deep as possible to another Vraska's Contempt. When you're facing something like Ral Is It Viceroy, you really need to find the answer, trying to find that Assassin's Trophy or the Vraska's Contempt.
You know, there's a Star of Extinction in Takao's hand, and there's 6 men on the battlefield.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, Ral is not immune to meteors.
I know. It would eliminate both the Karn and the Ral, but if that's what you need to sweep this board when you're at 7, there's a lot of potential there. And, okay, so I was thinking of the previous turn. Hernandez has, in fact, decided to use the Karn this turn for that -2, creating a construct, and this is just going to be deepening the amount of attacking creatures that we have access to. That is going to be Search for Azcanta transforming into Azcanta the Sunken Ruin.
Cleansing Nova, the draw! The perfect card to keep Ral around and deal with this board.
And drew a Justice Strike as well, which is going to be a backup removal spell. Oh
And that's a one-off Cleansing Nova.
We were almost going to have to use the Star of Extinction, but instead the Planeswalkers get to stick around, and Takao might have the opportunity. Have we seen a Ral Ultimate this weekend? I don't think so.
I don't know. I'm just going to... Yeah, I don't think we have.
No. Nope.
And yeah, Maria just saying nope. And yeah, Ral Izzet Viceroy's emblem is... I've had it in limited. I almost decked myself because of how powerful it is.
It's any time that you cast an instant or a sorcery, it deals 4 damage to any target, and you draw 2 cards. If this happens, that is going to be remarkable. And I think Hernandez may be doing a little bit of just double-checking what he might be facing off against next turn.
Yeah, and I mean, if Adam can't deal with this Ral, like, this emblem is a big, big problem. The kind of only answer that Adam would have is something like a Carnage Tyrant because of the hexproof. But then all the cards you draw, that's getting you to Revitalizes and maybe again that combo of Deafening Clarion and Expansion and Explosion. But while you do that, you're drawing infinite cards.
And for at least the time being, there is at least an answer to one Carnage Tyrant in the form of that Star of Extinction.
Yep, exactly. Star of Extinction is much better when it has, draw 2 cards, deal 4 damage, right? So that way you get deal. That way if there's a 24 toughness creature, we can get rid of it.
Not anymore, there's not, yeah. And there is going to be the Golgari Findbroker, but there was a Sinister Sabotage to back up this Ral. And now it is Thrashing Brontodon on the battlefield, the 3-4, and this is going to be a pass back. Lucas Takao has got to be thrilled. I'm really wondering if he's had the chance to. That's going to be the ultimate, the emblem, now online. And now what can we do with it? There is that Memorial to Folly that can't be activated right now. So as far as targets for it go, if you ever do choose to, but I think this is going to be a jumpstart.
Chemister's Insight, yeah. We're going to draw a lot of cards here. But I just wanted to go back to something that happened last turn. Lucas decided to Sinister Sabotage the Golgari Findbroker with Adam having access to 4 mana. That was a relatively dangerous play. Lucas could have had access to Vraska's Contempt. Adam. However, Lucas decided, based on how the last turn went and having perfect information from those Explorers, that Adam did not have it. But I'm a bit surprised since I believe Adam drew a unknown card. So, again, could have kept the Sinister Sabotage for a potential Vraska's Contempt or Assassin's Trophy, because the Findbroker wasn't really going to get anything that was going to be troublesome here. So, but it all worked out. That emblem's in play. That's a lot of lightning. That's a lot of cards.
And this card is going to plus up. Let's take a look at the top 2. There's a Llanowar Elf and an Overgrown Tomb among them. That land is going to go to the hand, and that elf is going to join its friends with a silver counter on it, which means that any further Karn Sign of Urza's could also retrieve those cards. Memorial to Folly activating here, and what are we looking to get back? It looks like Golgari Findbroker to me, maybe looking to get back that Vivian Reed.
Yeah, but we get the Sinister Sabotage, draw 2 cards, deal 4 damage to the Karn, surveil 1.
Oh my goodness. That Ral emblem is just incredible. Untapping here for Lucas Takao at 7, but almost entirely stabilized at this point, really just continuing to try and dodge a multitude of Carnage Tyrants.
Yeah, but even then, you have a Star of Extinction, and there's going to be... I think Lucas is drawing so many cards that Carnage Tyrant is not going to be too hard to answer anyways. You can redraw Deafening Clarion plus Expansion Explosion, and at some point, Ral's ability can go to Adam. 29 life is a lot, but at 4 per spell, it's going to go fast.
That's absolutely true. So we've now got a Teferi, Hero of Dominaria online as well, and that's going to continue to draw cards as well. Lucas Takao might almost run into the issue of having way too many cards in hand to actually know what to do with them.
Yeah. Might come to decking, but I don't buy that either.
That would be certainly the way to see the Ral emblem online. Looks like a Doom Whisperer might have been the draw there for Hernandez. Another Sinister Sabotage in hand. Probably going to be looking to answer that one pretty quickly. There it is. And, it's Disdainful Stroke, actually. That is going to draw us 2 cards. Eliminate the Karn from play. Those cards remain exiled with a silver counter on them. Every spell just suddenly looks so much more powerful when it's got 4 damage and draw 2 stapled to it.
That's really weird. I wonder why.
It's amazing. Merfolk Branchwalker comes down, a land to hand, and it's the 2-1. Facing off against this Emblem and Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, we see Justice Strike and Deafening Clarion. We've also got that Search for Azcanta online. Lucas Takao has got an abundance of resources, and now it is just a matter of time. Plussing that one up, it's another copy of Deafening Clarion. Multiple answers to those Carnage Tyrants now online because of that Star of Extinction and the 2 copies of Deafening Clarion.
Yeah, and there's also a Settle the Wreckage in hand, so this should be relatively trivial for Lucas to just cash in a bunch of spells and deal lethal. And even this Crackling Drake is kind of nice, allowing to deal damage without decking.
And I think we might have access to a counterspell or activating the Azcanta, the Sunken Ruin, going back down to 7 cards, and it's back to Hernandez, who at this point, it really just feels like we're getting a lot of information about the opposing deck rather than trying to fight through it, and that's going to be the case. Hernandez picks up the cards. That was way too much advantage, and Lucas Takao takes that game too. Ral's Emblem finally showing up, and when it did, it put on quite a performance.
Yeah, I mean, most Planeswalker emblems are very difficult to beat. Ral's Emblem is no stranger. Teferi's Emblem is usually the one that the control decks win with, but that one was put on a clinic too.
Branchwalker comes down for turn 2. We've got a Jade Light Ranger.
Perfect.
Up top.
Two drop, free drop. That's exactly what we're looking for. And on the draw, it's a lot harder for Lucas to answer this 1-2 punch. The Jeskai decks are, hoping to answer them with something like Deafening Clarion, but I mean, this game might actually be quite short. If Lucas doesn't have access to a Deafening Clarion, this is a lot of potential power.
And I don't see one in hand right now, just a lot of lands, a copy of Expansion Explosion available, and with that other Jade Light Ranger up top, you got to be happy with it. That's going to be a 4-3, and you're going to be just running back the same plan next turn. There is the double blue, but right now the plan almost looks like Sinister Sabotage on the Jade Light Ranger, which we saw in Game 1, and it wasn't very effective at that time either.
Yeah, here I would probably just play the Jade Light Ranger. If it gets countered, it's not so bad. Honestly, there is even, to be honest, there's because your opponent's on Sinister Sabotage, there's definitely a world where you wanted to not, there's no Deafening Clarion. Lucas would have slammed that. So from that perspective, there's a world where you might not cast a spell just because you don't want to give the Surveil 1 to your opponent.
Okay, and he's got the 3 mana up, and then if you try and force it on that turn 4, kind of put him into that decision of does he deploy the Crackling Drake, or do you go for, the Draw 2 ability or counter that spell. But we're going to see another one here taking down Duress. And
the thing is, you could have also used the Duress with the Jade Light Ranger, but it's okay. Lucas doesn't have an answer to these creatures, and that's all you need. You just need free power on turn 2, 4 power on turn 3, and no answer in front, and I mean, sometimes that's all you need.
Dekao's at 3.
And Adam is thinking here. He plays a spell pre-combat, make sure it doesn't get countered. Obviously, Lucas, even with a counter, couldn't do something about this Karn since, if Lucas decides to tap a single land. But Adam decides to go for it, and
Adam Hernandez is going to take away the win in Game 3 and really rallying behind a Branchwalker and a Jade Light Ranger after that devastating loss in Game 2 to that Ral Emblem. Really came up with the win. Now, with only 2 losses, is going to be heading into the top 8. What a performance there.
Yeah, I mean, and, game 2, the control deck going way over the top. But then game 3, it's like, okay, whatever. I'll just play my free power 2-drop mana creature, my 4 power free mana creature, and we're just going to go to town.
And there was such a distinct difference there when you didn't have access to those early removal spells. But we've got another match for you here in the Time Walk, so let's head on down to the last match. And it is going to be Peter Sekurik up against Jackson Hicks. And let's go ahead and take a look. It's Golgari mid-range and, much to the surprise, Golgari mid-range.
Yeah, so one more Golgari mid-range deck. No spoiler alert will make it into the top 8.
Looks like we've got that. I suppose that's true. Wildgrowth Walker on the battlefield and Jade Light Ranger.
But the cast down here really important. Otherwise, Peter Sekurik would have too much of an advantage. Jackson already is stuck on only black mana, and Peter would have had a really powerful start. And
it's going to be Seeker Squire. This is going to be a land, so it's going to remain as a 1, 2, and it's going to get followed up by that Llanowar Elf. So it's Jade Light Ranger up against these 2 creatures, and now there is going to be a Forest as the draw for Petter. 3 mana.
That ended up well for Jackson. There was a high potential. It seems to have missed a land drop, but the Secret Squire getting the green source, getting the Llanowar Elf. Petter in good shape. Jackson now in good shape, and we're going to have a pretty grindy game probably on our hands.
And there's the attack in. No blocks from Hicks. It's going to get followed up by one of these 2-mana plays. It's another Merfolk Branchwalker on the battlefield. These 2 decks, I don't think I've had much opportunity to really see these 2 decks grind against, in the mirror match.
Yeah. It gets as grindy as it gets, as gritty as it gets. The fine finality, just acting as kind of, that soul salvage effect, getting back to creatures, because all your creatures gain an advantage. So what really matters here is getting a board presence to make sure that your opponent's planeswalkers don't go out of control. If a planeswalker goes out of control, it can be really tough to come back. So develop your board, get a planeswalker protected, and Ravenous Chupacabra is working in that sense of developing a board plus stopping Petter's aggression. But if Petter can get something like a Vivian Reed, that's going to be huge. The Vivian Reed's really tough to beat without Vraska's Contempt here.
No land drop there for Jackson Hicks on his turn, which means that Petter has the ability to also pull ahead with a mana advantage, and as long as he doesn't end up experiencing anything like Mana Flood, be able to cast those bigger spells sooner, power out those Planeswalkers or even those Carnage Tyrants sooner than his opponent can, is going to be a really powerful way to approach the game.
It is an option, but here Petter, the game is still quite grindy, and the main problem with not having 5 mana is not being able to deploy a powerful spell. But these games are rarely decided by tempo. They're really decided more by card advantage and board position.
Mm-hmm.
So here, though, Petter deciding to attack and follow it up with more aggression, playing that Jade Light Ranger. Just trying to set up for a big draw. Yeah, the Wildgrowth Walker is a little closer. Petter with access to the Fine Finality in hand as well as a Vraska's Contempt. So with answers, but, Jackson is at 13. Jackson, though, doesn't have much on our board. If Jackson misses a land drop and doesn't have a good answer to this Jade Light Ranger, then the aggression might start mattering.
Yeah, not a whole lot of power on the opposing side of the battlefield. All right, so we're actually about to mute our mics to avoid the top 8 announcement. We'll be right back. And welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for sticking with us. We're now going to get right back into the action here between Petter Sekurik and Jackson Hicks as they were making that top 8 announcement. In the background, we don't want to provide any of those spoilers for you. We want to find out at the right time. So,
we can announce the other 7 members, right? So, the top 8 minus the winner of this match, Isaac Kraut, first place. Then we have the winner of this match in second place. Brian Lynn in third place. Adrian Sullivan in fourth place. Adam Hernandez in fifth. Seth Manfield in sixth. Jacob Tilk in seventh. And Owen Turnwald rounding out our top 8 in eighth place. So those were the 7 names plus the winner.
And here we see Wildgrowth Walker into Jade Light Ranger for Petter Sekurik. This is going to be that double Explorer. We see a Branch Walker up top as well. 2 counters onto that Wildgrowth Walker is going to turn it into a 3/5, and the board advantage is going to continue to climb on the left side of the battlefield. Both of these players fighting for that spot in top 8.
Yeah. But yeah, here you can see the effect of Jackson not having access to that 5th mana earlier. Petter just able to take over. But yeah, now catching up. We got 2 Llanowar Elves, we got our 4th land, Carnage Tyrant being on the board and blocking a lot of essentially Petter's aggression. Here, but a good attack might stably available.
Carnage Tyrant's big.
Well, the problem, let's see here. Wildgrowth Walker can block the Seeker Squire, and Seeker Squire on Jackson's side can essentially throw itself at the mercy of the 2nd largest creature if it wants to, and then that leaves 1 creature unblocked for free damage, and the Jadelight Ranger would be munched by the Carnage Tyrant or the Wildgrowth Walker, so that would mean Jackson at either 5 or 6, but it doesn't feel like a good trade here. So Petter probably going to just develop the board.
Merfolk Branchwalker comes down, no +1/+1 counter on it as we find a forest. That Wildgrowth Walker is going to grow even further into a 4/6. At the moment, only takes a little bit more exploring. Something like a Jadelight Ranger here would actually put it on par with this Carnage Tyrant as far as big bad creatures go on the field. 3 mana remaining at the moment, however. And Petter just considering, what are the options to go against this board, which is smaller overall, but that 1 Carnage Tyrant, such an imposing presence.
Yeah, and the main issue for Petter here is that the attack this turn is, I mean, it might deal some damage in exchange for a creature, but then you face the issue, and I kind of like this. I actually really like the Contempt on the Wildgrowth Walker because it makes this attack much better. The Wildgrowth Walker from Petter's side is going to go away. The Seeker Squire probably going to fall to the Jadelight Ranger, but that means Jackson is going to go down to 3 and can't really use these Llanowar Elves because they're going to be needed to dissuade an attack from Petter. So Jackson going to have to stay back here, but drawing a land here, perfect. You get to slam the land and go for something like Doom Whisper and take over. Unfortunately, though, if Petter ever gets a Vivian Reed on the Doom Whisper, then that might make the game go quite dicey, where Petter can
there
go
it is.
For board presence.
Doom Whisperer hits the battlefield, joining the Carnage Tyrant, and the 2 biggest creatures on the board are sticking with Jackson Hicks on the left side. Just a whole field of these Explore creatures, which have been generating all kinds of advantage for Petter. And let's see if he can really convert that into a way to break through these creatures. And we're kind of getting into close to a board stall. And at 29-4. Such a big disparity in those life totals, but with Doom Whisperer starting to attack, this is going to be kind of playing catch-up, and it's another Doom Whisperer following it up, as well as another Llanowar Elf. So much redundancy across this board with those 2 Llanowar Elves, and, 2 Doom Whisperers swinging in makes that a 2-turn clock.
Again, I'm going to say something that I've said a lot about these type of matchups. It usually comes down to the board. It doesn't come down to tempo. And being at 4 life, the decks don't have reach. They don't have a way to deal that 4 damage directly. You have to do it through attacks. That second Doom Whisper is going to be a big problem for Petter. Not already not being able to deal with the first one, the second one is going to spell quite a bit of trouble. But the cast down here, quite a nice answer. And Petter going to attack. While one of Petter's creatures is going to be sacrificed, the Llanowar Elves kind of have to just jump in. One can trade with the Branchwalker, but one's fed. But that is 2 damage coming through.
So Jackson down to 2 life with only a Jadelight Ranger and a Seeker Squire remaining. It goes back to Jackson with this Doom Whisperer and this Carnage Tyrant, and the advantage is really starting to move towards Jackson Hicks. We've got a Merfolk Branchwalker hitting the field, a land goes to the hand, and there's also that Memorial to Folly available, which could eventually try and grab back another one of these Explorer creatures. That Doom Whisperer was exiled, I believe. Or no, it was hit by cast down, wasn't it?
Yeah, but you can also get the Ravenous Chupacabra back. As long as you're dealing with the board, there's no wrong way to do it. And yeah, you can do it while keeping the Llanowar Elf on defense. Jackson deciding here, the creatures in front don't have trample, so single removal spell isn't going to get me. Petter is going to need 2 removal spells to really get through here.
And Petter down to 17 now. That Llanowar Elf could be combining with the 2 Swamps to buy back that Ravenous Chupacabra here. Taking a look at the graveyard at the moment, I think that Petter Sakuric is also running through. What are the options of this Memorial to Folly? What might I be playing against next turn? Jadelight Ranger and Seeker Squire on the field trying to do their best to hold off this attack, but Doom Whisper just going in the air over them, and it's Midnight Reaper, and then an attack with both creatures. They're both going to die. And now we're going to draw 2 cards and see what it is that we can get. That Merfolk Branchwalker is going to head to the graveyard. That was a trade of those 2 creatures while the Carnage Tyrant survived.
And there's the Vraska's Contempt for the Carnage Tyrant, but I believe Jackson Hicks's last card is Vivian Reed. So Jackson really having the option here to either get Ravenous Chupacabra to deal with that Midnight Reaper, go for something like Doom Whisper to take over to the skies, or simply, playing Vivian Reed, gaining card advantage. I don't know why Llanowar Elf went to the graveyard. It isn't quite Llanowar Petal. It is Llanowar Elf.
Yeah, that hexproof on the Carnage Tyrant is really proving to be an issue here, because any of those removal spells, they've had to point themselves at the Doom Whispers rather than it, and it's just been such a massive presence on the battlefield. Chupacabra going to come down, and that Midnight Reaper, the bell tolls for it.
Yeah,
Vraska.
It did its job of drawing cards and trying to get Petter in the game, but that Carnage Tyrant deciding to go in, and Petter at a very low life total here, kind of needs his own Carnage Tyrant or a big board presence. But Jackson regained the advantage, and you can see why this matchup is about board and not life total. Petter was at a very comfortable life total, but here, all those attacks, they take a toll.
Vraska Golgari Queen comes down to the battlefield. That plus ability means that you may sacrifice a permanent to draw a card. We sacrificed one of those forests. We played down a Carnage Tyrant, so at least those Tyrants are now face-to-face. The Llanowar Elf and the Chupacabra are the 2 creatures remaining for Jackson Hicks, and this is a really kind of the first step for Peter Skarek to gain back this game after everything really went awry.
Yeah, and interestingly, Petter is a 9, not 8, and the reason that's important, if Jackson decides to make an all-out attack, then Petter chooses to block the Ravenous Chupacabra, takes 8 damage going to 1, and then the Carnage Tyrant will be free to attack Jackson back. So here, I think Jackson kind of has to stay back. We see Vraska's Contempt, ironically, on Vraska Golgari Queen. In a kind of a flavor fail, I guess.
Self-contemptuous, that Vraska. Yeah. Heading to the exile zone. All right, it's 9-4 with these 2 Carnage Tyrants, both of which have a lot of opportunity to close this game out incredibly fast, but no answers on either side. Peter Skarek taking a look at these 2 cards in hand, trying to come up with some sort of game plan. Jackson Hicks as well, feeling pretty comfortable with that Ravenous Chupacabra and the Llanowar Elves flanking the Lizard King.
Yeah. Here, it's again, the best answer to Carnage Tyrant is Carnage Tyrant itself. That's the best way to ensure that it gets traded nicely and cleanly. Chupacabra dealing with Chupacabra, and Petter offering the trade here.
All right, so now it is a 2-2 Chupacabra up against a Llanowar Elf with only the 5 mana on the side of Jackson Hicks. Even playing a Carnage Tyrant would require tapping out with that Llanowar Elf. There's a Llanowar Elf on the battlefield for Peter Skarek as well. At 9, Jackson Hicks at 4.
Yeah, I think that...
I think he would be at 3, wouldn't he, because of the
trample?
Yeah,
because of the trample. Yeah, okay, there we get the update. And 3 being a lot more dangerous than 4, since now if Petter can top deck a removal spell for this Llanowar Elf...
We're plussing up the Vivian Reed. That means that we're going to put a card in hand, and it is a single forest, and that Llanowar Elf, is there a removal spell that can handle it? 3 damage currently on the field. Otherwise, we might just see...
Jackson will definitely take over here if that Vivian Reed untaps, and there's not really anything that kills Vivian Reed but not Llanowar Elf. Petter going for J-Light Ranger, just hoping that there aren't 2 creatures. He knows about J-Light Ranger, however, he's just hoping for not another one.
Now, what do you do with this one? Because you're going for the Explorer right now. If you keep that on top, you're getting another one of those double Explorers, but this also isn't one of the Haymaker cards of the matchup.
Right, but we're kind of past the Haymaker point with Jackson at 1, and I feel like I want this J-Light Ranger to go away. You want a removal spell because there's a high likelihood that Vivian Reed plus another creature. So yeah, I like Petter taking it away. Ravenous Chupacabra, though, definitely keeping that on top to try to clear a blocker.
And it creates another attacker on its own, which could be presenting lethal. That Vivian Reed likely going to be going for the plus ability. I can't imagine anything else here. And we're going to take a look at the top. Can we find a creature? It's going to be Doom Whisper.
But it's an expensive one here. It dies to the Chupacabra all the same. And I think here Petter, using that early aggression, using that early stumble from Jackson to just just get over the finish line in this first game.
Chupacabra up top. That one's going to stick around. Is there another small creature in hand? There isn't. We know about the Ravenous Chupacabra. Is there an answer in hand for Jackson Hicks? That's going to remove it. Here's the swing. It's got to be...
But it's Vraska's Contempt. Jackson going back to 1.
You gain 2 life, but then take 2 damage, and now it is Doom Whisper. You're going to plus up this Vivian Reed and need an answer to these 2 hungry attackers. There's Jade Light Ranger, and with another land, would be able to deploy that and the Doom Whisper.
But Chupacabra and the J-Light Ranger are enough. That's 2 blockers while removing an attacker on Petter's side, meaning that there aren't that many top decks that Petter could have to win the game next turn. I don't actually believe there's specifically anything. He would then have to just draw Carnage Tyrant, but then Jackson's board would be so large. So, yeah, I think Jackson's turned this around. Vivian Reed's Emblem also going to be a ton of damage.
There's the attack. We're going to throw that Chupacabra in front of it, and now it's this Jade Light Ranger. Oh, no! Carnage Tyrant coming down for Petter Sakuric up against this Vivian Reed. Let's see what we can come up with. This is a 7-6, and you need a lot of power in front of it. Is the Doom Whisper enough?
Yeah, it's more than enough. Vivian Reed's going to make it +2/+2. And that's going to be enough. I think with Jackson making the creatures indestructible.
Oh, that's right.
Yep, Vivian Reed Emblem, +2/+2, Vigilance, Trample, and Indestructibility. At this point, Doom Whisper is going to come down, and I don't know how Petter can get through it.
Can something like a Vraska's Contempt?
That's it. That's the one. If Petter can draw Vraska's Contempt, then the Carnage Tyrant would trample over the J-Light Ranger, and that would be enough. But Jackson going for the much better play here, in my view.
Get your own.
Yeah, get the Carnage Tyrant, and it'll be +2/+2, so there's just nothing that Petter can do. This is a much better play than playing the Doom Whisper. Just getting the Carnage Tyrant and being able next turn to win the game. I don't think there's a card here that Petter can draw.
Having the Hexproof on that Carnage Tyrant means that even Vraska's Contempt is no longer an option. This should lock it up.
What a game 1.
Oh my goodness. Into game 2 we go. That was such a grind. Now, heading into the sideboard, how does this matchup even change now once you have access to those cards out of your board?
Yeah, they'll have different plans. They both have access to mild graveyard hate. Petter has Deathgore Scavenger. Jackson has the synergistic Blood Operative with the Doom Whisperer. 2 more Carnage Tyrants in the sideboard. On Petter's side, the Eldest Reborn, Vraska Relic Seeker. You're just getting more grindy, and that game 1 was already very grindy.
It's Jade Light Ranger joining that Seeker Squire. Cast down is going to eliminate it, so just the 1/2 hanging out on the battlefield there.
And wait, did Petter miss a land drop here? It doesn't look... Did he choose to be on the draw or miss a land drop here?
I believe Petter missed a land drop.
Okay.
That may not be the case, though. Oh,
yeah.
Actually, you know what? May have chosen to be on the draw.
Let's see...
Because we did see the first play of the game was from Jackson. There's going to be fine. We're just going to verify that real quick. It's Seeker Squire coming down. That's going to go ahead and reveal the top. It's a land. And double checking, that is going to have to be a discard. 8 cards in hand already at this stage of the game.
It looks like Petter was on the play and just missed a land drop. Yeah.
Unfortunate. Land drops are coming together significantly better. Plaguecrafter came down. And now we have got a Branchwalker up against a Seeker's Squire.
Yeah. You're going to see a lot of trading. This matchup comes down to board presence and a lot of trading. If Jackson can slam down a Planeswalker, this is a huge draw potentially for Petter. If Petter has Vivian Reed and draws a green source, this is really big. But Chupacabra already a lot of advantage. But Doom Whisperer going to make the next draw a little better.
Yep, we're going to go ahead and pay the 2 life to Surveil 2. We're going to do it again. Both of those cards going to the graveyard. And taking a look at that second card, that's going to stay up top, paying 4 life total. And now we are going to head back into it. It's Wildgrowth Walker, and is that going to be followed up by Jade Light Ranger? More of this, gaining the 6 life back, almost like you never even spent it.
And the fine finality is like you almost lost no cards. And Jackson here, very far ahead on mana, on board presence, on cards. Just far ahead on every metric.
That first ability of Find is such a powerhouse. The 2 mana, return 2 creatures from the graveyard to your hand when you're going for so many of these 1-for-1 trades.
Yeah, exactly. And in this matchup, it's not for the -4/-4 effect. It's really to recover and recoup cards. And yeah, and here, Petter missing that early mana has been a real problem.
There's Find. of Finality, Plague Crafter in hand, and we've got the green mana available. Could fire down that Branch Walker as a way to maybe dig into another mana.
We're going to see it, I think, because I don't think Petter has a choice here. The Overgrown Tomb, basically the pickup, decides to pay 2 life in order... Petter could have decided to play Llanowar. That was the decision point there. But deciding, ultimately, look, I'm not going to get there by missing this land drop, so I need to just get fortunate, and if it's a green source, even better, and that's what happened.
Llanowar Elf, Branch Walker, and Chupacabra facing off against the Wild Growth Walker, which is now a 3/5 with those 2+1/+1 counters. Possible that it was going to even grow further this turn, and a 4/3 in that Jadelight Ranger. There's an attack from both of these creatures. A 2/2, a 2/1, and a 1/1 are the available blockers.
Yeah, it just seems here like Petter is most likely. You can double block the Jadelight Ranger here, which is okay. I guess if Petter has access to a lot... Actually, with the Playcrafter, that's why you see this block. Playcrafter, not so good against a myriad of creatures, but pretty good if you're starting to trade away some on the side. But yeah, this find is just going to be a problem.
Yeah, that's the one that we saw before. Now getting cast, getting back a Jadelight Ranger and a Doom Whisper. That Playcrafter could eliminate the Wild Growth Walker, and that Doom Whisper would remain the flying 6/6 with Trample. Can't even just throw a lowly bird in its way.
Yeah. I mean, the best answer would be Vivian Reed, but I don't think Petter has it. So something like Vraska's Contempt is necessary, but Petter is just trying to buy time. But what Jackson's doing is just putting on more pressure, and the fact that Doom Whisper can get more threats and or grow the Wild Growth Walker, plus 2 Memorials to Folly in play. I mean, Jackson is quite far ahead. There's more mana, more cards, again, more threats. It's just, yeah.
Jadelight Ranger comes down. We see a Carnage Tyrant up top. That's not a bad way to go about it. That Llanowar Elf is the only way that we can cast it, though, so that one's got to stick around.
Yeah, and there's a big question as to whether or not to keep the Carnage Tyrant. But, like, putting it in the graveyard isn't that bad because you could draw a Find Finality or use that Memorial to Folly down the line. But I think it's correct to keep it here and try to have a threat. And here, Playcrafter used Overcast down just to get rid of the Wild Growth Walker because the Playcrafter's utility kind of goes down over time. You know, Jackson could eventually draw into a cheap creature like a Merfolk Branch Walker. So use the Playcrafter here as an efficient use of resources, and then next turn get access to both Cast Down and Vraska's Contempt and maybe combat this situation and pull ahead. But yeah.
And there's still that Carnage Tyrant up top, which could come down as well, but more likely to address the current situation at hand for Jackson. 7 mana available. It's going to be a Jadelight Ranger to kick things off. A Forest is revealed, and then a Llanowar Elf goes to the graveyard. That is a 3/2.
And Jackson maybe having a tough decision here about this Llanowar Elf. You know Carnage Tyrant's on top, and this is kind of unfortunate for Petter. Petter doesn't want Jackson to know that he needs 6 mana, so that was why there was that decision on the Carnage Tyrant. By keeping it, Petter is being clear, I need that 6 mana. You know, I have a play at 6, so that might incentivize Jackson to remove the Llanowar Elf here, which is going to make Petter only be able to cast 1 spell next turn, and that's where you see that play. That's why you're seeing that Vraska's Contempt, is because of the Carnage Tyrant on top. Jackson trying to cut off the Carnage Tyrant, but cutting off the more important sequence of both Vraska's Contempt and Cast Down.
And that's really going to limit what Sakurko's able to come up with this turn. It's going to be Jadelight Ranger revealing the top. It's Find Finality with a Ravenous Chupacabra and a Playcrafter in the graveyard. Not a bad tool to get back some of these creature-based removal spells. We'll see if we decide to keep both of those up top. A lot of these decision points are just coming down to tiny percentages.
Yeah, but I think that has to stay on top. You need to recover on cards on top of dealing with the board, and Petter basically going here for a Jadelight Ranger plus a Cast Down, but in a really tough spot. Because Cast Down on Doom Whisper, it gets bought back by Memorial to Folly quite easily, so you know you're going to have to deal with it next turn, and the only answer really is as Vraska's Contempt. But maybe Petter is happy to have that scenario, you know? If Jackson buys the Doom Whisper, that's the whole turn, and then you use the whole turn on Vraska's Contempt, but that's okay. Since that means that Jackson hasn't developed the board in another manner.
And it's going to be a pass back here to Jackson Hicks.
Deciding to wait on the Cast Down, there's no reason to fire it off right away, and you don't want Jackson to have information and using up this Surveil.
5 mana here, and it's going to be Vivian Reed coming down to the battlefield. That's going to be a plus ability filling up with another creature. It is a Ravenous Chupacabra with a land, that's going to be able to come down and eliminate one of these Jade Light Rangers. Now only the lone 4/3 on the battlefield. There is still the cast down in hand. This is the swing out, and that's going to eliminate it. Jade Light Ranger attacking into Jade Light Ranger.
Yeah, and with this exact sequence of plays, Petter will be able to Vraska's Contempt away the Vivian Reed. You see here Jackson deciding to surveil 2 in response to the cast down, try to set up the next draw. But yeah, next turn Petter kind of forced again to deal with this Vivian Reed, and I think Petter is just in a lot of trouble here.
We're going to block there, and it's going to be a clean trade. 18-8, though that Vraska's Contempt is going to knock Petter Sakurik back up to 10 with only a Ravenous Chupacabra available.
Yeah, and I think Petter is just forced to contempt the Vivian Reed. I don't see how Petter's winning a game where this action doesn't happen, and that's why Petter's doing it. It doesn't develop the board, but there's not much of a choice, I think, here.
There is that Memorial to Folly. We could go and get back that Doom Whisperer, and that's going to be the case. It's a swinging for 2. That puts Petter down to 8 with lethal damage on board at the moment from that Ravenous Chupacabra and the flying 6/6. It's off to Petter's turn.
Yeah, but Petter is going to have to deal with the Doom Whisperer again. Probably was just maybe hoping here to get a land. The fine finality with a land would allow Petter to get back the Ravenous Chupacabra and play it, plus the value creature of choice, which usually is Jade Light Ranger. But yeah, and here, yep, Ravenous Chupacabra. So yeah, I mean, Petter's fighting as hard as he can. This is a very grindy mirror, and Petter's just doing the best job possible to try to stabilize. With 6 life, you can still take a hit or 2, but wow, this Doom Whisperer is making it really hard just because of, while it's very easy to destroy every time, it keeps coming back and it keeps giving Jackson the exact card that he needs.
You know, there's another Memorial to Folly on the battlefield too for Jackson Hicks, so he's going to be able to get that back at a later time as well.
Right, but this is better. You've seen that Petter's been stretched on mana all game, so making more frets, making the board wider is most likely the way to go. And here, Jackson thinking about that Vraska's Contempt on the Ravenous Chupacabra of Petter. If at this point, that would put Petter down to 4. And then you have essentially 2 of your attackers have to go through. So unless Petter has another Chupacabra, say, then you get to deal lethal damage quite easily. Although Petter can't play Carnage Tyrant. And that's the most important part of a potential Vraska's Contempt here, is if Jackson plays it on the Chupacabra, attacking for 2 means that Petter's Carnage Tyrant is essentially dead in hand, and Petter will need to play 2 creatures, and then that unloads a lot of top decks for Jackson. Well, I mean, there's the Merfolk Branchwalker kept on top, but yeah.
Yeah, and
you also have the Memorial to Folly. You get to put a lot of pressure.
There's the attack. We're going to be down to 4 for Petter, so the Carnage Tyrant, like you said, no longer a good option. It's going to be Jade Light Ranger, land. Those are going to go to the hand. Not that effective. It's a 4 mana and another Jade Light Ranger. We see Llanowar Elf, that one going to the graveyard, and a Forest to the hand, and it's right back. 2 creatures, and at this point, any removal spell would lock it up.
But I don't think Jackson has a Ravenous Chupacabra in the graveyard. It has been a long game, but I think that the one in play is the one he's had. So we're most likely going to see here just developing the board, just forcing some chump blocks on Petter's side, and and maybe getting back the Doom Whisperer. But no, it just seems like we're going wider and making the Wildgrowth Walker bigger.
Yeah, and we continue to try using that explorability. Now at the top we see Seeker Squire getting to decide whether that stays on top or goes to the graveyard. It is just a 1/2, but it is also an attacking creature.
I think it's fine to get rid of it at this point. You can also keep it, just because it could be a 1/2. But yeah, here Petter is really far behind. Even with a Vraska's Contempt on this Walker, it wouldn't be enough. There's a lot of attackers.
Jackson Hicks is going to take down that match in 2, and that is going to propel him where, Eduardo?
2nd place in the Grand Prix top 8.
So he is going to be in the top 8 with that win, and that means that we now have that one decided. Now, if you have a chance, I know that you've got that list. Do you want to do a quick run-through of that list for me once more?
Will you do the honors?
Absolutely, I will.
For you.
All right, so we have got in first, it is going to be Isaac Kroot, followed in 2nd place by...
Undefeated run, 14-0 and a draw.
Wow. Absolutely incredible. And then Jackson Hicks coming in 2nd. We just saw him on camera. Brian Lynn in 3rd, another player we were able to see. Adrian Sullivan with his Jeskai deck.
His unique take, 4 treasure maps, 4 Niv Mizzets in the main deck. really tuned to beat the control mirror.
Followed up by Adam Hernandez, Seth Manfield, Jacob Tilk, and Owen Turtenwald. That is going to be the top 8 heading into this tournament, and I cannot wait.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like there's a lot of Golgari mid range. If you're a lover of the mid range grind, you're gonna love this top 8. There are quite a few archetypes though. You know, Is It Drake's, Jeskai Control, and Mono White are there, but there's a lot of Golgari mid range though.
All right, well that's going to lead us into the top 8. Stick around, Maria and Reed will be back with the quarterfinals after this.